Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brushes and Bunnies, and in this video we're going to be having fun with watercolor and sort of going back to the basics. While I'm doing some watercolor doodles in my watercolor sketchbook, I'm going to be talking about a piece of advice that I recently came across that has helped me so much when it comes to actually painting with watercolor, and this is something that I really want to share with you in today's video. Watercolor has always been something that I've been desperately trying to improve on, and I have been stuck in a rut for a very long time. And actually, for some stupid reason, it only occurred to me not too long ago that I actually have to kind of go back to basics in learning watercolor and learning how to control it, and also how to work with colors. I've always been much more comfortable with black and white drawings and just drawing and sketching in general. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what I want to do with that, and it's something that I really enjoy. But just the aspect of coloring in one of my sketches and maybe doing a watercolor portrait has always been a scary thing because, you know, colors, I feel like I tend to screw up and it's just not going to turn out the way that I've wanted it to. So I've been pretty stuck for a very long time with this sort of concept of coloring my drawings. So last week I was actually browsing YouTube and I came across this really helpful video on YouTube. It is called Improve Your Watercolor Paintings with a Simple Tip. And what I learned in there literally blew me away. I don't know why I did not think about this or came across this technique before. I guess it was always there. It's just something that I never really considered to try for some reason. But the YouTuber or artist goes by the name of Liron Yanconsky. I do hope I said that properly, but I'll be linking down his video below in the video description so you can take a look and also learn what I learned. And basically what you learn in this video is, I don't know, it's just so easy. The concept is so easy, and it's just a beautiful concept, and it really does help your watercolor paintings. The concept that he teaches in this video is that rather than mix your colors on a palette, you mix your colors on the actual paper. So you use a raw blue or a very natural yellow and you mix it together on the paper to create a new green, for example. There are tons of colors you can do this with, obviously all colors you can do this with, but he does use a select few, and I have seen other artists that have used simple colors as well. So I decided to go ahead and try this technique in my sketchbook with foliage, just sort of drawing a quick character and then doing a background with the concept of minimal colors and letting the water on the paper mix the colors themselves. I did a lot of different tests. A lot of them ended up failing more than succeeding, but again, this is part of the process where you're just kind of learning how things work and learning how to mix colors properly, how much water you should use, what sort of brushes you should use, and which colors work for you and for what you want to achieve. So I did play a lot with this in my sketchbook, and I had a lot of fun doing. And it really does feel kind of freeing in a way, and you can have a lot of fun with it. When working with watercolors, it's important not to forget that part of the process is actually to layer colors. So something that I would strongly advise to just always try to be mindful of is when you're applying the first layer, just note that the colors that you're putting on your paper, no matter how vibrant they look, they will dry a little bit lighter in color. So this is part of the process. So you layer color on top of color in order to achieve the shadows that you wish or the midtones that you wish to get. So this is just something you can't forget. So a common mistake that tends to happen, something that I still do to this day, is working with the first layer, you tend to add a bunch of colors together just to try to get that shadow, highlight, midtone range already. But this is something that should just not happen. You can play around with this, but initially you kind of need to remember that watercolor is in layers. Start off with the softer tones or the first layer of colors, and you start to build the shadows as you progress. So do take time to let your layers dry in between, and this will definitely avoid muddying up your colors. In his video, Liron explains the simple concept of the variety of colors in a subject. So if you take a look at a tree in real life, you're walking down the street, you take a look at the tree in your front yard or in your backyard, and you just take a look, just take a moment to look at the leaves and the way that the colors kind of intertwine together, how they bleed together. You're going to see yellows, browns, oranges, greens, blues, purples. There's a whole variety of colors that make up a tree. It's never just a green color. It's a complicated assortment of colors. And the concept of mixing colors on paper using the raw form of the color itself and letting it bleed into one another to create different varieties of a different type of color, for example, green, you mix with yellow and blue, you can definitely ensure that the subject that you're painting will have a deeper, richer color scheme that is closer to what is reality in a way. I think that this technique is really, really cool for background work, especially if you have a lot of foliage, trees, bushes, floral work, just maybe backgrounds that are more darker in tone. You can definitely play with a lot of the colors. Rather than paint with black, you paint with the mixture of purple and indigo and whatever else, sepia tone, for example. So you can have a rich variety of color instead of just one flat color. And I think this will definitely make a difference in your watercolor work. While experimenting in my sketchbook, the way I use this technique was a little bit different than how I normally paint my watercolor paintings. Usually when I start to paint in my subject, I tend to focus on the subject before I paint the background. In this case, I decided to do the opposite and start off with the background, where I played a lot with the sort of green kind of, foliage background with a bush or a tree. I don't know what it was, but it's basically a nice green background. And I started with that, and I really thought of how would I incorporate the subject in this case. The background's a little bit darker, and in contrast, the subject has the face is a bit lighter than the background, and the hair is where a lot of the background and foreground will then mix in together, where I have some bits of the hair will be a lot darker and will then bleed into the green background. So I really wanted to kind of make this sort of cohesive look with this technique. And actually this technique really offers you the chance to do this, because you can just work with the colors and make them bleed together and create kind of a nice gradient look between two raw colors. Once I had sort of the background happening and I had larger parts of the painting bleeding into the background, for example the hair, I could then focus on the little bits or the little details by really emphasizing with strong colors. I did use a lot of indigo in this case, where I would then sort of highlight, some of the harsher edges just to create a strong shadow in a way. So around the hair or the bangs, the eyebrows, the eyes, there's just going to be one straight line that is quite bold and stands out in contrast to the background that is a little bit more kind of abstract in a way. And this sort of style is a similar technique that I use with sketching. When I'm sketching my characters, I tend to use strong, bold lines that emphasize certain parts of the actual sketch. And it's more so of a stylistic characteristic that I have added into my drawings. And it's something that I enjoy doing. And it's also something that I've been wanting to find a way to incorporate this in my watercolor work as well. Because watercolor is just so different, but I did want to stick true to my own style of drawing. Overall, this technique is incredible, and I'm really happy that I found Liron's video. Once again, I will be putting his video down below in the video description, so if you want to check that out, check out his channel, subscribe to him, then please do so. I highly recommend. He does have great advice, and he's really talented as well. I'm definitely going to keep playing around with this technique, and I'm just going to be exploring my options and trying to find a watercolor style that fits for me and the way that I draw. So I'm quite happy and I'm quite excited for what the future holds with this, but all I know is that I'll be practicing quite hard. I want to wish you all a lovely weekend, a happy Sunday, and we will see each other next weekend. Bye!